Welcome to the Growstories Podcast, where we explore how innovation, AI, and human intelligence are transforming the way businesses grow. I'm your host, Josh Jackson, founder of Red Letter AI. We here believe in high tech, high touch, using intelligent systems to do the heavy lifting while keeping the heart of the business human. We help companies scale faster, streamline their lead generation and sales processes, and create automation that feels personal, because technology should enhance connection, not replace it. And that's why I'm especially excited about today's conversation, because we share a common philosophy that real growth doesn't come from more tactics or tighter scripts. It comes from mastering the human behaviors that drive performance. Today, we're joined by Stuart Chant. He's been helping sales teams transform for over 2 decades, not just through training, but through behavioral change. He's the Senior Vice President of Sales Training at Outsell, where they help sales teams and companies spot those bright spots that make the biggest difference in performance. He's coached leaders, redefined systems, and built playbooks that turned good salespeople into high performers. Please welcome Stuart Chant, a master of blending psychology, communication, and practical sales systems and science into real results. Stuart, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Josh. I was thinking that guy sounds good. My God. Thanks for having me on, Josh. Appreciate it.
No problem. I couldn't have enough nice things to say about you, especially from our previous conversation that we had before recording this.
Sure. Yeah.
So, for the people that don't know about Outsell or yourself, kind of give us a little bit of a lowdown on what you guys, who you guys serve and what you do.
Yeah. I guess I'll tell a personal story, because about 20 years ago, I was SVP of a NYSE public company, and we figured we should probably get some sales consultants and get some sales training. And we looked around and we found Outsell, and at the time, we had about 150 sellers, and every time I rode with someone, it felt like they were doing a different process, And we were a financial services company, so that's bad. You can't have different people saying different things. So we hired Outsell, and I just thought when they came in, I thought they were like the Green Berets, I remember thinking at the time, I think I'm pretty smart. Well, it turns out I was a buffoon. I didn't know all the stuff they knew. So I liked what they did so much. I went to a load of their training sessions and then became one of their trainers, and ended up running away from corporate America to kind of hang a shingle out, and I've been with them ever since. So, basically, the last 5-6 years or so, we've been helping private equity companies. The private equity company buys a team, or is looking at a team. They want to analyze their sales team. They want to help their sales team improve. They call us up and say, "Come take a look." And what we always end up doing is we always say, "Hey, who are the best? Who are the best people you've got?" And there's always best people, right? There's always people killing it. They've got 2 or 3 people killing it, or 15 people. We go and watch them. Right, that's our job. And it's interesting. I think we don't really ask them questions, because someone told me once, Josh, that the Queen of England thought the world smelled of fresh paint. And I love that idea. Like, the Queen of England would show up, and everywhere's just been painted. It's just been swept up. Her whole worldview could have been, "Oh, this is what the world smells like." I think it's a bit like that for a consultant. Why we show up, people tell us what they think we want to hear. And of course, what we need to hear is truth, right? Because our job is to solve the right problem. So yeah, we watch best people in action, write a process, teach that to the rest of them. That's what we do.
Yeah. So in our previous conversation, you mentioned, so it kind of goes along with my first question I want to ask you, because I love what you said about this, that you mentioned that nobody actually wants sales training. They want behavioral change or, money. What do you see as the biggest gap between traditional sales training, what they offer, and what sales teams actually need to achieve that behavioral change?
Yeah. It's fantastic, right? When was the last time anyone looked forward to sales training? If we send out an email and say, "Oh, we got sales training next week," I've got it in a few weeks' time, and I just know people are dreading it. And we always joke. We're like, "Okay, well, we're going to turn the PowerPoint on in a minute. It'll be 8 hours long." And of course, everyone's like, "Oh, no." It turns out No one wants that, right? And 71% of sales training fails for exactly that reason, because they turn on a PowerPoint and they think information alone is going to change behavior. And of course, that does not do that. And I think my life now is really taken because I became a soccer coach when my kids were young. I was coaching soccer, and I would, I had a head full of knowledge about soccer. And I should say, every time I say soccer, an English person dies. Just know that. So I would be there and I think, oh, I've got a head full of knowledge. I should tell the kids that. And apparently, 6-year-olds do not want to listen, right? They just want to play.
No way. Yeah.
Right? They just want to kick a ball and play. And so I found a way to kick a ball and play and teach skills. And I really brought that into the classroom. So if you get in a classroom with us, 2 or 3 minutes, you're on your feet doing something. And
Okay.
that's what people want, right? They don't want to sit and listen. They want to do. We do by failing.
I don't want to sit and listen, and I don't want fake role playing.
Right.
It's just
real work. We don't call it role play. It's real work. You're going to work on real
right.
stuff.
So let me ask you this. So what do most people misunderstand? What's misunderstood about what it takes to be successful in high stakes sales environments, which you practice in?
Oh my God. Yeah, what does it take? Where does it go? Can I just start a big list? I mean, I think the first thing we always hear is listening. And I think it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. It's asking the right questions. Right. A quick story. I was in Washington, D.C., leading a sales training with 25 people. I have them stand up. We're going to practice just conversation, right? Because we never practice that. Just no one practices conversation. Stood them up to practice. And before they started, I said, hey, guys, what kind of questions should we ask? Open or closed? And they all said, oh, we should ask open-ended, Stu. And I was like, that is the right answer. And so I walked around the room, listened to them as they work. 95% of their questions are closed-ended. Are you, can you, did you, do you, would you, have you, you will. So I started writing all their questions up on the board. And I'm like, guys, that's your questions. What's going to happen if you ask those questions? And they're like, short answers. Right. So my contention is salespeople are training sellers to tell them less, and they're going surface level. They're not going deep because they don't know how to ask really good open-ended questions. That's
right. I've always heard, start with what and how, and be careful of why.
Why? Yeah, why is judgmental? Yeah, how's great. Right? If you're a salesperson trying to understand what a company does, yeah, how do you do that? Yeah. It's a big deal. And the other thing is how you frame up conversations, right? So few salespeople set an agenda, which is just stunning. And it turns out people don't like surprises unless it's a birthday. They want to know what we're going to talk about, right? And there's got to be a benefit to them. It's got to be an agenda they're interested in. And you've got to ask them, hey, what else do you want to make sure we talk about today? And you've got to ask everyone in the meeting so you get an understanding of what's on their mind. Otherwise, they're not listening. So I think they're two of the main things I'd suggest is, obviously pre-call planning, obviously agendas, obviously better questions.
Yeah, right. And you noted that in our past conversation that clients often call and ask with help with overcoming objections or best closing questions or closing techniques. But, we talked about, you find that the real fix is always in the process and the preparation. So can you share a story or a client testimonial or a case study on a company you worked with that kind of had that issue? What did you guys do and where they're at now?
Yeah, nearly every customer. We get a lot of phone calls, a lot of referrals, a lot of phone calls. Yeah, can you teach us how to overcome objections? You teach us how to close. And they just want to go straight to that. And we're like, well, let's take a look. Again, we want to make sure we're solving the right problem. So we go and watch their salespeople in action. And it turns, that, it's not about the closing. It's about how they open. It's about how they prep for it. Are they thinking about who's the audience? What do they care about? What's the purpose of the meeting? What's the benefit to them? What's my desired outcome? If I knock it out of the park, how am I going to know? So not asking those simple questions to tee them up for a really good conversation. where they're kind of getting in the mindset or getting in the headspace of the prospect. Yeah, so that's what I'd say there.
Yeah, I would love to ask you this question because just in this conversation, in our previous conversation, you did mention a lot about asking the right questions and coming prepared, but you also told a lot of stories. So how do stories fit in with the sales process?
I think they do, aren't they? It's interesting that if you open a story loop, like Donald Miller's really good at this stuff. Like if you open a story loop, we can't wait to hear the answer. We can't wait to hear the resolution. Want to know what happens. Yeah, it's fascinating. I'll tell you one I had recently. We just completed a training in the Philippines, and it was for a company that sells. What can I say? Because I'm under an NDA. They sell like a DSL product into a bunch of Midwest states. And they thought it would be a good idea to free up their American sales team and hire a team in the Philippines. We're going to hire more of them. And I said, okay, well, what do you want to do with sales? Do you want the sales same or what? And they said, no, we want to improve sales. Wow. So we're trying to train a sales team with English, a second language, and you want them to do better than a bunch of people in the Midwest selling to people in the Midwest. That's a tough one, right? So we don't want our reputation to turn to custard. We only really want to take jobs we know we can succeed at. So I said, send me 100 calls of what you've got and I'll listen. And then I'll come back and tell you if I think I can do anything. So that's what we did. I listened to 100 calls, and when I heard them, I have to say I was fairly confident I could knock it out of the park. I could improve it because someone internally had written their call flow, and it was very polite. It was like, who do I have the pleasure of speaking to today? It was like, what are we, Dickens characters? What is this, Mr. Picnic? And I was like, nobody sounds like that. It was like, it was so polite. Do you mind if I ask what your last name is? I mean, come on, oh, could I trouble you for an address? I mean, I was like, come on, people, this is like, just ask the question. Yeah.
Right.
So, ended up doubling sales, did really well coming out of that training 100 people to do the new call flow and helping them just ask better questions and listen. So, yeah, it's fascinating. But once we hear a story loop, right, in sales, we want to know the answer. So that's why case studies and success stories are so good for us.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you're such a strong advocate for open-ended questions. I would love for our listeners, I would love for you to share, like, what are one or a few how questions that you could teach everybody right now that would instantly elevate their discovery conversation?
Oh, this is my favorite topic. I can't help myself. I mean, the thing I tell salespeople after coming out of a sales training with us, they are only allowed to ask, what, tell me, or talk to me about. What? Obviously, it's a good question. It covers everything. And if you start your questions with what, you're going to get a pretty long answer, right? And then tell me and talk to me about, they're actually command statements. They're not even questions. You're actually telling someone what to do. And it turns out we like it. We like being told what to do. I mean, like our parents always told us what to do, and it makes us feel very comfortable. So I think that's the first thing, right? What, tell me, talk to me about. Just start with that. The next part of it, that helps you get people talking. Well, now you've got to keep them talking. And what I see, I get to see it. I get to see thousands of sales presentations, which is so much fun. Whether I'm live in person, pretending to be working for that company, or getting a recording, I see thousands. I'd say that the biggest thing, the weirdest thing I've noticed is a salesperson will ask a good question, right? They'll show up with a really good, rounded, open-ended question. And then the prospect will give them an answer, and they'll just accept that answer. They won't question it. And they'll ask another good question, but it's completely a different direction. So I teach a thing called double clicks. Double click is where you take one or two words in their answer and you form a new question. Hey, let me demonstrate that. Josh, what did you do for fun last weekend?
I hung out with some friends and watched the Oregon Ducks play college football.
Why the Oregon Ducks? What do you like about the
Because
Oregon Ducks?
I'm from Oregon originally, and I grew up a Oregon Duck football fan my entire life.
Wow. So did you go to Oregon? That was your alma mater?
I didn't go to the school there. I went to a private university, but as far as the football team goes, I've been going since I was in 6th grade when my dad started wanting to take me to games.
So good. What do you like about them most? What do you like about watching their games the most?
Hoping they win a championship someday soon, but they're just a fun team to watch. I've been following them since they were the doormats. So I've been a fan for a long time, and, seeing their success over the last 15 years elevate to the place that they're at today. I never in a million years would have guessed that they would be at the status they're at today.
So good. All right. So there's conversation led with, open-ended questions and double clicks where the spotlight is kept firmly on you. I didn't make it about myself. That's the other thing, right? 73% of our conversations are fairly narcissistic. We tend to turn the spotlight on us because we know us fairly well. I could have gone off. I love Michigan. I love UCLA. I love USC. USC is doing really well at the moment, but
Yeah.
we're talking about you and we're talking about Oregon. So double clicking your way through a conversation is the way to go. If you want to sell more, if you want people to like you, get the other person talking about themselves, which you are so
I
good.
love it. Yeah. And I would like to follow up with that on something you mentioned. You just kind of drop a gold nugget, and I want to pick it up and I want you to talk a little bit about it a little bit more. And that's the tell me and tell me more. Tell me about that. Explain that to me. That kind of line of questioning where you're telling somebody what you want them to do. And you said that people like it. I would like for you to expand on what that means and why they like it, and, how we can use it to our advantage, really.
Yeah, I think there's a number of them. I mean, obviously, let me just run through a few ideas that are in my head from that question. You've obviously got your what, you got your tell me, you talk to me about. They're just guaranteed to get you a lot of words. And I've noticed if you use the person's name once or twice, that gets even more words. So they're really useful. But I think I also have open-ended question starters, which I've been collecting for a while. And you mentioned a few of them there. Walk me through, paint me a picture, clarify for me, explain to me, describe for me, help me understand. All of those are open-ended question starters that are going to get a lot of words in the answers. And I think that's what we want. I'm not,
Yeah.
you want 50-50 conversation with the client, right? So I saw a presentation yesterday from a salesperson. He spoke 90% of the time, and it was so bad. Yeah.
I think a grand majority of us could do so much better. I know I can. I know that I'm terrible at this. I need to do a lot better. Having this conversation is just helping me so much. And I'm going to go back and watch this and take notes on it too, because you're dropping some serious gold nuggets that I hope everybody is listening to and writes down.
If you want another one of my favorite things since COVID, we've done a lot of virtual stuff, these meetings where you've got 3, 5, 10 people on the other side and you're the salesperson pitching. And so a lot of our work has become about how do you facilitate that? Because now you're this big and you used to be 5'10", and now you're this big and you can't see what's going on. You can't see everything. So facilitation becomes really important. And in the presentation I saw yesterday, the salesperson, he was asking close-ended questions, which is bad, but they didn't have any direction, right? So would you like to add anything else to the agenda? Not aimed anywhere. So all it did was create silence. And silence is a massive killer. Right, it really kills the energy at any call. So what it should have been is, hey, what else do you want to talk about? Paul, let me come to you first, and then we'll go to Marge, and then you, Joan. So, Paul, what else do you want to make sure we talk about? So you're handing off the microphone at every stage. So everyone knows when they should speak, if that makes sense. That's one thing I've noticed since COVID. It's really useful.
That's awesome. People need to definitely get in touch with you and find out more. We don't have enough time to share all of these amazing tips right now. So I would love to maybe switch gears just a sec here and have you tell me more about Outsell. Because when we were talking, you were talking about the growth, right? Your guys' growth over the next year, and your goal is to double over the next 12 months. So tell me a little bit more about that vision. What does that look like for a company beyond just beyond the number, the revenue number? Like, what does that growth look like for you guys?
Yeah, we came out of Dale Carnegie. That was where all our founders came from. And we wanted to be a smaller boutique consulting firm. And at our largest, with working with some very large clients, we've got up to 42 of us. But generally, we're 4 to 6 people covering, and I think of us like the Justice League. I do the sales. I kind of go and do discovery, watch what the salespeople are doing. I decide what would be useful. I think we've got project managers. We've got behavior designers who work with BJ Fogg at Stanford, so behavior design stuff. And we've got Mike Williams from Doing to Done fame, who used to run Getting Things Done for David Allen. So he works with us. So I think we have a lot of ways of helping companies really go to market better, whether it's, just improving their sales, improving their process, just generally improving how they do everything. We're becoming way more strategic than we used to be. So yeah, we want to expand again, take some more people
That's
on,
awesome.
and grow.
That's awesome. I definitely see that happening. Again, our conversations have been fascinating, and I highly recommend people finding out more about you and how you can help their business grow. But I know we don't have time to cover everything. I have a couple of last questions I want to ask you, and I want to get your honest, quick advice. So my first one is, what is the best piece of business advice you have ever received?
I think it's this. I think it's you should listen to what someone is saying and focus intently on what they're saying. Don't worry about what you're going to say. Just know that you will know what to say when it's your turn, but it's more important to listen.
Active listening is a skill that a lot of people don't have and they need to refine. I agree with you on that. Like it's active listening is a skill, like, and you have to learn it. So I agree with you.
It's like training a puppy. I've been doing it for the past 15 years. As soon as you get distracted, you've got to refocus. It's very hard to do. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
Right. And then my second last question is, if you had a chance to talk to your 15-year-old self today, what's the one thing you would tell him?
I'd probably say, relax. It's all going to be okay. I think, right, we all get so stressed going through life and we just so stuck in the moment. If we're having a bad day, we think that's the rest of our lives. And I've had some bad days. It's not the rest of your lives. Life is so fantastic. Every day is so fantastic. I think it's just, my advice would be enthusiastic with every day. Be grateful and be enthusiastic and just don't worry about too much stuff. It's going to be fine. That's
Amen to that. Amen. And last question is, where can people find more about you and Outsell?
Certainly outsellconsulting.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there with, I've got 10,000 connections, a lot of people on there. So LinkedIn's a good place to find me. So
that's awesome. We'll have both those contact details down in the notes below. That way nobody has to quickly write them down. So I appreciate the time today, Stuart. Super fascinating. And thank you for spending the time with us.
Thanks, Josh.